When Disney acquired the Star Wars franchise, fans were excited for the future. They expected to see their favorite heroes return in a way that honored everything they loved about the originals. But what Disney did with Luke Skywalker remains one of the most controversial decisions in modern pop culture. For many, the character we saw in the sequel trilogy, especially in The Last Jedi, is not Luke Skywalker at all. It's a completely different person who shares only the name. Let's start with who Luke Skywalker was before Disney took over. In the original trilogy, Luke is the ultimate symbol of hope. He is willing to risk his own life for his friends, his family, and for the possibility of redemption in even the darkest of people. Luke doesn't kill Darth Vader when he has the chance. Instead, he chooses mercy, believing there is still good in him. This act of compassion saves not just his father, but the entire galaxy. The message was clear. No one is beyond redemption, and hope can change even the most hopeless situations. That's why so many fans were excited to see what a mature, experienced Luke Skywalker would be like. After all he accomplished, it made sense that he would become a wise and powerful Jedi Master, leading a new generation and continuing the fight for good. That's what we expected. That's what fans waited decades to see. But then came The Last Jedi. Instead of the hopeful, resilient hero, we're given a Luke who is defeated, cynical, and withdrawn from the galaxy. He's living alone on Ahch-To, having cut himself off from the Force. He's abandoned his friends, the Resistance, and everything he once believed in. Why? Because he briefly considered killing his own nephew, Ben Solo, after sensing darkness within him. Overcome by shame and fear, Luke decided to hide from the world, convinced that the Jedi should end. For many fans, this makes absolutely no sense. The core of Luke's character was his refusal to give in to fear, even when confronted by the Emperor, or when facing the loss of his friends. He always believed in the light. The idea that Luke would consider murdering a family member in cold blood, even for a moment, completely contradicts his actions in Return of the Jedi. He refused to kill Vader, his own father, even after all the evil he had done. But now, suddenly, he's ready to strike down his nephew because of a vision. It's a betrayal of everything the character stands for. Disney tried to justify this by saying they wanted to show a flawed, human Luke. But there's a difference between giving a character depth and completely undermining their core values. Luke's flaws were always part of his character. He was impulsive, sometimes naive, but ultimately he learned and grew. Turning him into a bitter recluse who gives up on hope isn't depth. It's lazy writing and a misunderstanding of what made Luke inspiring in the first place. The disappointment didn't end with his characterization. Luke's presence in the sequels is minimal. In The Force Awakens, he doesn't appear until the last minute, with no dialogue at all. In The Last Jedi, he spends most of his time pushing Rey away, rejecting the idea of training a new Jedi, and complaining about the failures of the Jedi Order. Instead of mentoring the next generation, he does everything he can to stop it. His heroic moment, projecting himself across the galaxy to face Kylo Ren, feels like a last-minute attempt to give him a meaningful role, but it's not enough to make up for the rest of the film. Even Mark Hamill, the actor who played Luke, was critical of these decisions. In interviews, he said, "This is not my Luke Skywalker." He admitted that he fundamentally disagreed with the direction the character was taken, and that he had to think of it as someone else. When the actor who has embodied the character for 40 years openly criticizes the script, it says a lot about how far Disney strayed from what made Luke special. The fan backlash was enormous. Social media exploded with criticism, memes, and lengthy breakdowns about how Luke was mishandled. The phrase, "Not my Luke Skywalker," became a rallying cry. Many fans felt betrayed by a company that, in their eyes, didn't understand or respect the character's history. Some fans walked away from the franchise entirely, disappointed and frustrated. It's also worth comparing Disney's version of Luke to how he was portrayed in the expanded universe, now called Legends. In those stories, Luke becomes a wise, powerful Jedi Master who faces enormous challenges but never loses hope. He builds a new Jedi Order and continues to grow as a person and as a leader. The sequels could have adapted some of those storylines, or at least respected the core spirit of the character, but instead, they chose to tear him down. Of course, there are some who defend Disney's choices, saying that showing a hero at their lowest makes for compelling storytelling. But most fans weren't asking for a perfect Luke. They were asking for a character who stays true to his beliefs, even in the face of failure. There's a difference between giving a character real struggles and completely changing their motivations and personality. It's not just about nostalgia or refusing to accept change. Good storytelling builds on what came before. It honors the character's journey, their growth, and their essence. Disney's version of Luke ignores all of that in favor of shock value and subverting expectations. It's as if they wanted to tear down the old heroes to make way for the new ones, but they forgot to do it in a way that made sense or felt earned. In the end, Disney's handling of Luke Skywalker is a textbook example of how not to treat a beloved character. By ignoring his core values, minimizing his presence, and rewriting his history, they alienated millions of fans and sparked a debate that still rages today. Luke was never meant to be perfect, but he was always meant to be hopeful, courageous, and true to himself. That's what inspired generations. Disney didn't just ruin Luke Skywalker, they misunderstood what made him matter in the first place. And that's why so many fans will never accept this version as the real Luke Skywalker. Thank you for watching. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below.